What if the divine wasn't found in churches, temples, or rituals, but in the simplest, ordinary moments of your day? Hey guys, it's John sitting here in the studio, hoping you're having a fabulous day wherever you are. I know that I absolutely am. Things are going great. I wanted to hop on and talk about finding the divine in the simple everyday actions. Someone asked me the other day what the word divinity meant, and I thought I would kind of define what my concept of the divinity is. I'm often saying find the divinity within. Well, the divinity is us stepping into our awareness that we are one with God, one with the source, that we are divine in itself. In Hinduism, they talk about the consciousness of God being the sit, and we are the sit sat ki. And the Sitsat key is the individual sparks of consciousness within the one God. That we are part of God, and within that oneness of God, we have awareness of ourselves. And so to find the divinity within is to find that spark of God within us and to live it fully. And people will often tell you to live into rituals and dogmas and things of that nature, but the divine is found in the simplest moments, in the small stories. And you can recognize the sacred in mundane settings. You look outside, you see a beautiful sunflower through a window, and that's so beautiful, and you feel that connection to that beauty right in front of you. You see a child giggling in the grocery store, and you makes you smile because that's a moment of divinity. In this video, we're going to explore how everyday life is bursting with divine presence if we only choose to see it. The world is filled with distractions, and modern life distracts us away from being present. We're constantly thinking about what we have to get done, what we're supposed to do, why we didn't do things, or why that person harmed us in the past. We're always outside of the present moment, but divinity is found in the now because you never live in the past and you never live in the future. You always live in the now because now is the only moment you're ever conscious. There's constantly screens in front of you or noise that pulls attention away from you. That guy drives by with the car that's shaking sideways because the woofers are so loud. Those constant noises, those constant interruptions from our presence, it takes us away from the idea that this can simply be a beautiful moment. Stress keeps us stuck in what's next, or instead of what is, we forget to pause and notice. There was a famous near-death experience story of a very wealthy man, and he had his near-death experience. He went over, he had his life review, and during his life review, they showed him the most important moment of his life. And it was when he was a little child. He was sitting in his parents' car at a gas station, and he looked outside and he saw a weed growing up through the asphalt. And that weed was withered and dying because of the heat of the sun, and it hadn't rained in a while. And he got out of his car and he went over and he poured water on that little weed. And that was the most important moment of that man's life, is to be completely in the moment, loving. We often forget to take those moments of pause and notice the things around us and give love to them. And religion often confines us to sacred spaces, or like going to church every Sunday, and the holiness of that is reserved for temples, altars, rituals. Everyday life is dismissed as ordinary. It's not the idea of life is divine. It's the idea that our ritual is divine, and you must come here for the divinity. Joshua, he pointed to fields and sparrows and seeds, and mustard seeds, and think of the ravens, they neither reap nor sow. He always spoke to the things that were out in nature, the things that were already in our life, the things that were every day. And to truly broaden your awareness and expand your spirit is to learn how to see again, to learn how to see the beauty and the divinity in the world around us. So having childlike wonder, and that childlike wonder restores your sight. It restores the moment of awe. I remember when I had my third crossing over experience, I my eyes opened and I was in this pure white space, and I felt like a child. I was in complete awe and wonder of what I was experiencing. And then I was told I wasn't supposed to be there yet, and they knocked me back. But the idea of this is that coming back to that place of wonder and awe, to become as a child to enter the kingdom of heaven, It's that simplicity that reveals the divinity within. When we strip all the chatter away, we come back to a simple nature that is us. We come back to the place where love is always present, and the sacred always being there it's not, it's just sitting there waiting for you. It's always present. Every day there are things to see the beauty in. The sun rising. You go out and you watch the sun. You sit on the back deck and have coffee. That's beautiful, by the way, coffee on the deck. But you sit on the back and you watch the sunrise and you watch the birds chirp and fly. In my backyard, I have often have heard of deer that come through, and turkeys come through, and I can just sit on the deck and they just come on through, right? That's a beautiful experience of nature. And what's interesting is those animals that come through my property, the more calm I am, the closer they get. The more present I am, the closer they become. I actually talk to them. They come in, they look at me, and I go, "Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay." And they go back to eating grass, right? Those rainy days, you may have heard me in videos talk about how I love rainy days as well because the world needs the rain. So to me, it's a beautiful moment. That is divine, that rain falls and lets these things grow. When you at nighttime you look up and you look at all those stars and they're burning overhead and the enormity of all of that, that's glorious magnificence. We live in a world where we are trudging through it, but if you look back and you look at the entire experience of it, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. We are this one little person, this one little consciousness going through this enormity of something beautiful. And that is a natural moment, and the nature is a teacher. It shows us that things happen. Trees have leaves. Those leaves fall at the right time of the year when the roots need the nitrogen fertilizer that the leaves break down to. It's natural beauty. It's miraculous. And oftentimes you'll see people who take pictures of rivers and creeks and the flow of it, and they're like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And they're shooting pictures over rocks and realizing the water is following the path of least resistance. And the chatter of our mind is the resistance that is stopping it. And when we release the chatter, we release the resistance and the water flows more smoothly. Going back to trees, trees embody patience. They're always there, they're always growing. They don't worry about the world, and they're rooted in the ground, and they're just this beautiful, majestic idea of life itself. When we go out into nature, nature's presence awakens ours. We go out there and look around, and these animals are moving freely. The water is flowing smoothly. The wind is blowing gently. And we're looking at this experience and we're going, "Oh, look how beautiful this is." And realize that you have no say in any of that. All of that is just flowing naturally. It's just energy and motion around you. And you are in this moment creating the experience of what happens around you. Talking to the deer in my backyard calmly and without fear or anxiety, they don't get startled. They go, "Oh, okay, okay, he's fine." Our connection with nature is our connection with God, because everything we're looking at is of God, because everything we're looking at is the image of God. This atomic energy in motion we're looking at is simply the image of God, and the sacred is hidden in how we interact, the relationships we create in this world. A child's laughter, the innocence reminds us of joy, and it makes us smile within. The unconditional love shining through that child, and that they don't judge, they don't have that experience of the chatter in their mind because they don't lean into the experiences of their past. You know, they play freely in the present moment. They literally are embodying their play because they're being completely present.
And now, a quick word from our sponsor Coffee Time with John. This channel runs off coffee, so get your coffee and tea at johnsjoe.com.
If you choose to go out and do acts of kindness or witness acts of kindness, strangers helping strangers, and small gestures carry huge meaning, because that small gesture of that man pouring that water on that weed in the asphalt was the most important moment of his life. The small gestures are the most important moments because it's in the small gestures where we deliver love, and love is revealed without words. Our thoughts, our words, our deeds deliver the message of love just as much as our words ever could. You know, every person that you'll ever meet reflects divinity. That's why people say namaste, because you're recognizing the divinity within that person. When we have compassion, it opens our eyes to their divinity. It opens our eyes to our divinity. And every relationship, every meeting you have with any person on, on this planet are just like a classroom of love. You get to be a teacher in that moment. You get to be a student in that moment. And in that moment, if you can deliver humor as a sacred doorway, you can get them to laugh in a moment when they might be stressed, or the chatter might be loud. You can create laughter as a spiritual release, and shared laughter unites hearts. It actually creates a greater bond because you're present and fearless when you laugh. It dissolves the walls of separation, and it brings you into the present instantly. You're instantly in the present, and you're instantly fearless when you're laughing. Oftentimes, silly mistakes are divine reminders that the ability to step into that feeling of present moment fearlessness is right there in every moment. And those silly mistakes give us the opportunity to touch the divine again. Joy is not separate from spirituality. Joy is the byproduct of it. We choose to be joyful. We choose to live lovingly. And the experience comes back to us in joy because it is the byproduct of what we're being. If we're feeling negative or frustrated, it's because that's the byproduct of what we're being. And we could take this moment and choose to be the joy, choose to be the bright spot in the world. You know, even absurdity points us towards lightness because we start to laugh at the absurd. You know, when I did 6 USO tours overseas, I was on the front lines of Iraq and Afghanistan. And when I watched those soldiers laughing in the middle of a war zone, it made me feel like I had done something good. It made me feel like I had delivered love, that I had expressed God in this moment for them to rest in the arms of their own divinity and the divinity of God, which is found in laughter itself. You know, those audiences were healed by humor. I had soldiers come up still today who come up to see me in the street. I know you. You're a hack from Hack and Slash, and they'll say beautiful things to me about what it meant for us to come. And that's proof that joy is a sacred medicine. They still, to this day, 20 years later, are still mentioning it. They're still talking about it. You know, in my life, there's been so many moments of ordinary sacredness. I can't even begin to tell you the moments where I've seen people, stand up from wheelchairs and change their life. And it really comes down to not someone external, but about embodying love and being love in the now and showing them they can do it. And then they take the power of creation itself. They step into that. Each person is the pinpoint of creation, and that pinpoint of creation is dependent upon what you choose to believe about your now. Your thoughts, words, and deeds of love in the present bring you a loving life. And I find God in a quiet cup of coffee. I sit down, I drink my cup of coffee, I enjoy the taste of it, I enjoy the feeling of it. I will start each day that way, and it makes me smile. I drink take that first sip of coffee in the morning, and I exhale. Well, what did I just do? I turned off the fear response, and what did I find when the fear got turned off? I found God, found the doorway to God. Jeshua said in one of my regressions, when you seek a path is laid before you, but until you turn the path back to yourself, you never find the doorway. Well, that moment where I went, the path to myself, it revealed itself. Right in letting go of fear, I realized that I was always on the path. I was just not seeing it because the fear was the chatter of my mind blocking it. And I felt peace in that moment of silence on my path, realizing that I can just be love, be the change you want to see in the world, is what Gandhi said. There are people every day who are transformed by simple acts. People will tell you, if they hadn't done that one thing, I never would have done this. And miracles are hidden in ordinary settings. the sacred is always close by. And you know, can you recall a moment in your life where something happened that just seemed so beautiful and it took your breath away? That taking your breath away meant that you just released the fear in that moment. And when you did, you came back to exposing the path of God that you were already on. Building awareness is coming to the place of understanding that feeling, understanding that you can be that in any given moment. Take a moment and just stop and exhale. Notice the sights and sounds and feelings around you. Notice the experience of your life. Look at what you have and be grateful for it. Great gratitude itself is an interesting concept, but gratitude itself is faith in action, because when we have gratitude for something, it's because we believe it's happening. Can I have a glass of water? I say thank you when the water's coming, right? And that's the key, is to understand that present moment belief is creating, and that one breath where you come back to that feeling allows us to notice the sights and sounds and feelings to be grateful for, that we can recognize the beauty that's already here. And when we say thank you for small blessings, it transforms that experience from ordinary into holy, something beautiful, something sacred, something divine. And then the gratitude anchors us into the now with that divinity. We come back to we're ready, we're experiencing it now, and we naturally exhale because it's a fearless moment. If you're having a struggle finding those things, sit down. Take out a pen and paper and just write down things that you're grateful for. Start with just finding out the things that you're grateful for. Just figure it out. And then bring that list into your present moment and go, oh, yeah, it really is cool. I remember being on a plane one time and taking a moment of presence and realizing I was on a plane. How grateful was I that I could afford to be on a plane? How grateful was I that I was flying to someplace amazing and meeting beautiful people? How grateful was I that they hired me to come speak there as a speaker? And they paid me well, they treated me well, they put me on a plane, they picked me up with a car, and the whole experience was beautiful. And it was that moment on the plane where I stepped into presence and realized how much I really had. Over time, ordinary life becomes extraordinary because you start to realize what you're already grateful for. The fact that you can breathe, the fact that this world creates air that we breathe, the fact that in this vast universe, there's this blue ball that we live on that has everything we need to survive. And oftentimes we sit on this little blue ball and we go, oh, everything sucks because I have a chatter in my mind. It doesn't. Nothing can block you without your permission. Nothing can make you struggle without you choosing to struggle. The world is a product of your present moment belief. And when you live a life that radiates that beauty of love within you, and you start carrying the awareness of that into your actions, you bring presence into conversations that people feel. They feel it viscerally. They feel the love coming from you. And when you respond in compassion, they feel it. Acting from love instead of fear gives people the ability to set their own fears down, and you become the light for others. But before you do that, you've got to get present within yourself. Buddha says, be the lamp unto yourself. Well, if you're the lamp, that means the light's already within you, and you're shining the light on yourself. And that's what presence is. Your presence uplifts rooms. I'm sure every one of you has met somebody with a great charisma. They come in the room and the room changes. That's because they're present and fearless. They have no concern. They're being in that moment now, and that charisma stands out as beauty, stands out as something that makes them shine. Well, you can be present and fearless in every moment. You can stop walking scared and start walking sacred. Start walking your life as a beautiful moment. And that ripples of transformation that come from you will shift everybody around you. Those small moments will shift the entire week for people sometimes. Sacredness spreads outward. One person can brighten countless lives. And in that one person's choice to be brighter, they literally have cast out the darkness. The book of John says that perfect love drives out fear. Well, the perfect love is the light. It's the brightness. And the world is reawakened to everyday sacredness because of the one person who's shining the light where it's dark. Imagine if families would just get together and notice what's the simple sacredness of their present moment. The dinner tables will fill with meals and gratitude. Homes become temples of love. Children grow up rooted in being firmly present, allowed to be firmly present. And then as that grows, we start to build loving communities, and those loving communities, they start to honor the ordinary as divine, and kindness transforms neighborhoods that are riddled with struggle, and spirituality is practiced in daily service rather than going to a service weekly. Sacred moments of connection wipe out the doctrines, the dogmas, the methods, the modalities, the techniques. It clears the pathway for a global awakening to love. And humanity right now, I truly believe, is discovering wonder. And fear is being replaced by joy, because the ones who are most fearful right now are the ones who are the loudest. And it's obvious that they're fearful. It's obvious that they're angry. It's obvious that they're trying to subjugate people. But there's more people who want to love one another than there are people who want to subjugate. And the people who are subjugating right now are the ones who are being shown as fearful. And the ordinary world is wiping out the people. And I don't mean wiping out in a negative way. I mean, we're wiping out the fear. Eventually, those people who are fearful will find their way to love, because perfect love drives out fear. And the more of us who choose to be perfectly loving, will wipe out the fears of those who are trying to be doing fearful things in the world. The sacred is not hidden. It's right here in this moment, in this breath, in this exhale, in this smile. If you've had a moment in your life that was beautiful and loving, caring, sacred, share it with people. Share it in the comment section below this video. Share it so that people can see the light rather than the fear of the people who are still stuck in fear. And take a moment every day to recognize you're present. And once you do one of those moments, you'll do more. You'll do three or four or five, or eventually you'll be living more and more present than you are living in the chatter of the experience. And the chatter goes away because it's unnecessary, it's unneeded. And this moment right now, right here, is your ability to absolutely live present and fearless. And so take this moment and do exactly that. You guys have a great day. I hope you're doing well. This has been my thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See ya. Bye.